Matt, give me the heads up and I'll go, okay?
Sure. We've got about 3 more minutes.
All right, thank you. Counselor Olson just arrived. Such a talkative crowd today.
Monday afternoon blues.
Yes, sir. Oh my goodness.
I'm reading.
I have a question before we start. In Mary's email, it said something about the interpreters. It said one of them was an ASL and the other one was an ALS. Was that just a typo?
That's just a typo.
Okay, good. I thought I was looking and I couldn't find anything else. So, okay, thank you. See, you solved my problem. See you guys later.
Counselor Olson,
Looks like I might have showed up.
you're here. Yep, you're good to go.
Thank you.
I can hear you. 5 by 5.
Recording in progress.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to Albany City Council work session on Monday, August 23rd at 4 p.m. At this time, I'd like to do a call to order and roll call. Gabe, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Mayor Alex Johnson II,
Here.
Councilors Dick Olson,
Here.
Matilda Novak, Stacy Bartholomew,
Here.
Ray Kopczynski,
Here.
Bessie Johnson,
Here.
and Marilyn Smith.
I'm here and we have an email from Counselor Novak saying that she is unable to get access. Her passcode isn't working.
I see her logging in down below.
Here, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Here.
Mayor,
All members present, Your Honor.
Yes, just a second, Peter. So all councilors are present. So I'm going to give the city manager made a request to say a few comments about our interpreters today. So Peter, would you please go ahead and
thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this afternoon, at the request of one of our audience, we have an ASL interpreter at this work session. So I would ask you to please be sure to speak clearly and to speak one at a time for the benefit of the audience and interpreters. Interpreters work in 1 hour segments, so you'll likely see only one for the first hour and then a new one after that. And thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity for a comment.
thank you very much, Peter. And welcome to the Albany City Council meeting, Damon and Susie. So the next agenda item is business from the council. Business from the council, from the public, is for persons wishing to address the city council. Instructions are to register and speak is on the agenda and on the website. Today, no one signed up to speak or no written materials were submitted by the deadline. So next on the agenda items would be.
And Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, may I also say that at 2:45 this afternoon, councilors did receive an email with an attached letter from Mr. Jeffrey Evans. That was well past the deadline, but you all have that letter.
Yes, and it will be submitted to public record for Wednesday's meeting, correct?
We can certainly submit it for Wednesday, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you very much. And please take some time to read that letter. ADA compliance update, Director Eric Ikanoy is a verbal presentation for the library, for the ADA.
Yeah,
All right. Well, thank you, Council, for giving me time to talk about ADA, give a brief ADA update. This is going to be a very high-level update, but we do have some associates who work for the city who will be very helpful in answering some additional questions. But I'm sure for some of you who have been on council for a while, hopefully this is a review of ADA, and but I think it's important that we review, but for those of you that are new, that this is something that we are that you're all as up to speed as we can get you on, because it is important. So I'm going to share my screen here. Share screen. And okay, can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
excellent. Okay.
So excuse me, Eric, you need to go slideshow mode.
Yeah, it is. There we go. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So this is, as I said, a City of Albany ADA update. So like I said, I'm gonna take it pretty basic. I know for many of you, this ADA feels like still a relatively new thing, but it's now 31 years old. George H.W. Bush signed the ADA Act in July 26 of 1990. And essentially it's a civil rights law. I think it's important to keep in mind that these aren't policy suggestions. These aren't recommendations. This is actually civil rights law. Let's see. Disabilities that are covered. Now the vision, hearing and speech, ambulatory, and cognitive. Now, these are 4 very large umbrellas that cover many other types of many versions of these disabilities underneath this. So I think, but these are your 4 kind of basics. I think one of the most important things that the ADA has done is it has brought more recognition to the different types of disabilities, and I think that's continued to increase over recent years. But I do think that many times people will say that there is a disability, like if you can't see it, it doesn't exist. There's still a little bit of that mindset that we all have to work through, that a disability doesn't have to be seen to exist. And we don't have to make people prove a disability either. Let's see. Who? So this number, I saw a few different versions of this number, but according to the CDC, as of 2018, 26% or 1 in 4 of adults in the United States have some type of disability, and that's a 4% increase from what the CDC said in 2015. So if you just take that simple percentage and apply it to the most recent census, that's over 11,000 adults in Albany could have some type of disability. That's a pretty significant portion of our population that we need to make sure we are taking care of. You probably can all suspect there are many reasons for the increases in disabilities. As a nation, we're living longer. So as people get older, things happen. We start to rely on different aids to help us get through the days. And so we're seeing a larger presence of disabilities as people age. So that's something that this is a constant and will be growing, and it'll be an issue that we will have to continue to address throughout. Let's see. So the City of Albany falls under the state and local governments, which is Title II of the ADA. So basically, prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in the services, programs, or activities of all state and local government entities. Obligations cover all programs, services, and activities provided directly or indirectly through contracts. I think that's an important point to make, that everyone we do business with as a city, we have to make sure that they are ADA compliant as well. If they're providing programs for us, we need to make sure that they're doing it within the ADA requirements. And public entities, as a public entity, this is enforced by the Department of Justice. So those are that is the arm of the law who would come to us if we have issues that we're struggling with. I think one notion here that's kind of a big picture thing to think about is it can be easy to recognize the physical barriers in our facilities. Those we can spot and we can kind of know, but I think it's important that we also recognize that this applies to programs and services. So that means city council meetings, that means at the library, it means story times, it means the parks programs, it means public transit. So it covers everything we touch really as a city. So Title II requirements. So one, we have to complete a self-evaluation of our programs. And I'll explain a little bit more about that later. We have to provide notice and develop an ADA complaint procedure. We have to designate a person who is responsible for overseeing Title II compliance. As of right now, that is me. We need to develop a transition plan if the assessment identifies any structural modifications necessary for compliance. And we need to include people with disabilities in the planning process. And I think that's one thing that I think almost on every slide from here on out, including people with disabilities in the process is one of the more important aspects that we need to make sure that we're doing. And I will certainly admit as the ADA coordinator is probably my biggest deficiency being new to the position. I don't have many contacts with the local disability community. So that's something that, I realize I need to improve on for the benefit of the city. So the self-evaluation. The self-evaluation is a comprehensive review of policies and practices. The public entity must identify non-compliance in policy and practices, and we have to modify those policies and practices to bring them into compliance. And again, we have to have an opportunity for people with disabilities and interested parties to review and comment. I was in my research for this, looking at the history of what the city of Albany has done. I found a press release written by then city staff member Marilyn Smith in, I believe, 2010, talking about the city of Albany's opportunity for the public to view the city of Albany's transition plan. So this is something we've been working on for a while and will continue to work on. So the transition plan, this is kind of when you finish your self-evaluation, you create a transition plan. You list all the barriers and you try and identify their solutions. Most importantly, you establish a timeline for removing the barriers. Again, identifying that person for compliance, and also you involve people with disabilities to participate in the preparation of the transition plan. I think that this is one of the things in going to the trainings that I've gone to about transition plans and this Title II entities and what we need to do with our transition plan. This is one thing that is talked about frequently is once you create the transition plan, it's a living document. It doesn't just, it's not something that we just create and then put into a drawer and say, yay, we did it. What a great transition plan. This is something that will always be changing. This is something that, as you can say, as I said, we started with something in 2010 and then have worked and altered it in 2015 and now are working on it again. I think it's really important to note that this is not I guess I've already said, this is not a job that you can say this job is done. This will be something that we will continue to work on now and in the future. So, okay. ADA coordinator. So what does the ADA coordinator do? So takes the lead, creates a point person for issues with ADA compliance, provides consistent and accurate information. In the last couple of weeks, I've spent a lot of time on the phone with the Northwest ADA Center, learning as much as I possibly could, asking as many questions as I possibly could, so I can provide consistent and accurate information. So I'll also be the main contact for help with questions and concerns about ADA and disability rights. And in this way, this is almost like this role, I almost view it a little bit like, Lily Tomlin, Ernestine, the operator, where I'll be fielding calls from the public when they have concerns about ADA issues within the city, but then also internally, that I make sure that when somebody has a phone call about, we have somebody who would like to attend a meeting who's requesting accommodations, I can make sure that I can help them out, or all sorts of those sorts of questions. Be providing guidance on ADA compliance. We'll be monitoring ADA compliance and identify the deficiencies. That's, again, a lot of that would be done through the self-evaluation and then through the transition plan there. And again, working with the local disability community. As I said, and I went through this much quicker than I did in my practice, I apologize. But a couple of important points I want to get to here is, I'm in no way an ADA expert. I've now gone to 16 credit hours worth of training. Have read a lot on this. I do have, when you work in public libraries, you certainly handle ADA issues often as they come up. I've worked in municipalities where I've worked through a transition plan with the library facility that I was at, and making sure that we are compliant and fixing the big things that we had to fix. But really, I'm going to be relying greatly on the staff here to help me with the processes. And I don't know rights of way. I don't know, you have problems if I'm out on the streets with a level. Something's gone very, very wrong in that case. But I'll be relying on the people who'll be out doing that job. I think one thing that when I view this role, I think one of the most important things I can do for the city, or the ADA coordinator can do for the city, is work to kind of create a culture of compliance and acceptance of ADA practices and procedures. I think that would involve including trainings, both big picture trainings geared towards sensitivity and awareness issues around ADA, but also specific training for city procedures so that staff know, they know who to call. We can give we have a very real-time example. The process for us getting the ASL interpreters that we have tonight was something that, Mary, I know I'm not supposed to call on Mary, but Mary talked, we've had the little footers at the bottom of council, at the bottom of agendas about if you need essentially ADA assistance, contact us. Well, we hadn't had anybody actually do that. So we went through a learning process last week, and I'm grateful to work with somebody like Mary who was very dogged in pursuing this, but it was a process. So, my goal as the ADA coordinator would be to make it so it's not as much of a process, so people can understand the workflow and what it takes if we have somebody who needs an interpreter, how we do that, how we get an interpreter ready for a meeting, and then how we, just what we did tonight, how Peter introduced the interpreters and made note that, we talk one at a time. So, that's the big picture, and then I'll look just the important part. Where are we? As I mentioned, in 2012, after a self-evaluation, a transition plan was put in, or 2010, a self-evaluation, a transition plan was put into place. In 2015, there were updates to the plan. Transition plan, and now here we are again working to update the transition plan. As I said, that this is an ongoing process, and we'll keep working through this and keep learning and keep adding to it. Specifically, in September of 2020, Council approved a contract with a consultant for a self-evaluation and transition plan for the public rights of way. And then in the near future, we will begin work on a more comprehensive self-evaluation and transition plan for the whole of the city. It's important that is a project that actually started in Parks and Rec. Kim had budgeted for the self-evaluation for the parks programs, and then I found out about, I think in February, I was able to kind of piggyback the library onto that. And then as we've discovered, we need, again, to do a more comprehensive citywide self-evaluation and transition plan again. I think if you have any questions about the rights of way, Stacy Belcastro and Chris Bailey are on the call, so they could probably provide more detail on exactly where that process is at. But that's really the gist of my presentation. So again, I apologize. I think I was a little excited. I went a little quicker than I had planned, but I'm going to stop sharing now.
Council, do you have any questions for Director Aikanoe? Any questions, Council? Any feedback? I don't see any hands available right now. I know you're going to get deeper into this as we move forward. I see Councilor Bartholomew has a question. Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you. I was just wondering, how long has there been a coordinator?
There's been coordinators for quite a while. Jeff was the previous coordinator, and then he left, and we needed someone else. And contrary to popular belief, I actually did volunteer for this role. It is something as a librarian. Access is something that is something of a passion for me, and this is a little bit different of a way than I'd be used to, but it is important. So yeah, we've had an ADA coordinators for quite a while, and since I've only been in here a year and a half, I don't remember the names now that I've read on the different documents of previous coordinators, but we've had coordinators.
And how long have you been a coordinator?
Oh, since July 1st. So yeah, a month and a half of experience. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Peter, City Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to, actually, you've covered it right there between Councilor Bartholomew and Eric Eichenloy. I wanted to thank him for stepping up. Jeff Blaine had been our previous ADA coordinator. And as you know, he departed the employment of the city on the 1st of July. And Eric is new to the job, but I appreciate his volunteering and stepping up. And he has been drinking from a fire hose, as it were. But many thanks to Eric.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Peter. So is there any other questions for the Director? Not at this time. So we'll move on in the agenda. Again, thank you, Director, and I'll see you for lunch on Wednesday.
Sounds good.
Next on the agenda is review of the supplemental budget by Director Yeager. So Director Yeager, you with us?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. On Wednesday, we will be bringing forward a supplemental budget and to appropriate the funds related to the city services fee. In this, we are anticipating funds equaling $5,438,000. That is net of the low income assistance. We are going to appropriate $244,700 to administration to help fund the contingency. You might remember that last year during the supplemental budget for the 1921 biennium, we appropriated contingency funds to help offset higher than anticipated expenses in the general fund. So we are hoping to help backfill some of that into the contingency so that if we need to use that in the future, we can. We are also appropriating $223,000 to municipal court to help offset defense attorney fees as well as prisoner expenses. We do anticipate that when we eventually return to Lynn County, we may have higher prisoner expenses than we'd seen in the past. If there is some way that we can add for additional capacity, we would like to potentially increase one of our part-time FTE to a full-time FTE to help with collections and follow up on our cases. We would like to increase appropriations in the fire emergency fund to help restore 6 positions that were cut during the last budget process. And then in police, we would like to restore positions that were also slated to be cut during the last budget process. There were 2 in the current year and then 2 additional positions in the second year. There was also a communication specialist position that police really sees a need for, and so they're including that in their supplemental budget. And then finally, we'd be increasing libraries appropriations, and that would help fund some part-time positions that are needed at the library. And parks maintenance will increase, as well as performance and cultural arts. Again, we're going to be bringing this to council on Wednesday. We hope that you'll adopt the resolution that will adopt our supplemental budget for the 21-23 biennium. I am more than happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Thank you, Director. Councilor Kopczynski was first.
Can't hear you.
Councilor Kopczynski, you're first. Then Councilor Bartholomew.
Yeah. Director Yeager, please refresh my memory. What is the source of revenue for these increased appropriation recommendations?
This is from the city services fee that we
Just from the
implemented.
city services fee that's already been budgeted for that, to allow for that.
This is the city services fee that we just implemented this fiscal year. We have to appropriate the expenditures related to those, and that's what this would do. These are only city service fee related expenditures in this supplemental.
Thank you.
Councilor Bartholomew.
Thank you, Director Yeager. I was noticing that EMT and paramedic positions were eliminated, and noticed that firefighters are also called firefighter EMTs. is that how we are replacing that emergency service?
Yes, we are replacing them with, where did it say that? Yeah, the frontline workers. So it would be for the firefighters, EMTs, those positions.
Is that it, Counselor?
I'll have further, I have further thoughts about that because
Well, please do.
usually EMTs are much less expensive than our firefighters, and now we're putting that responsibility on our firefighters. And so I was just wondering about that.
So Councilor Bartholomew, most of
Yes.
our firefighters are, we have dual roles.
Right.
We only actually had a few single role EMTs, paramedics. And so I'm sure Director Wooten would be able to discuss why having a dual role is a really good thing for the city to have. But I'm sure he can explain it much more eloquently than I can.
Is Chief Wooten with us today?
I'm going to text him and find out here, Mayor. But I'd ask you to continue on with Councilor Olson's question, and we'll get back to
Counselor Olson, thank you. Counselor Olson, then we'll come back to Counselor Bartholomew. And then Counselor Smith after Olson.
Oh, yes, on page 3, the bullet at the top of the page, the last sentence, looks like Public Works is going to spend $25,000 on the library or libraries. I'm wondering what that is for.
The Public Works customer service charge is the administration cost that the Public Works UB department, utility billing department, charges these programs for the city services fee. What they do is they take the 4 different utilities, the water, the stormwater, and the sewer, and then additionally the city services fee, and they base each proportion on the revenue. So the city services fee is going to be responsible for $356,000 over the biennium for this Public Works customer service charge. The $25,000 is library's portion of that fee.
So does that mean they haven't been paying that in the past?
Well, we haven't had a city services fee before. So this is very specific to the city services fee for that collections and the billing and everything having to do with the city services fee.
So they're not planning to modify the buildings or anything like that? It's just,
No.
Just water and sewer and that kind of stuff? Okay,
Oh, no.
thank you.
Thank you, Director. Counselor Smith.
I was going to offer that it appears to me that the supplemental budget is simply adopting the city services fee to pay for the things that would have been cut July 1st if we had not enacted that fee. There aren't any changes in personnel. There aren't any changes in services. It's just a continuation of what we were doing before that we are able to continue to do because we adopted that fee.
Correct.
That's correct, Councilor Smith.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
hope I
Counselor
spoke
Smith.
slowly enough.
Counselor, City Manager Troutson.
Thank you, Mayor. That is, Councilor Smith's perception and description is accurate. However, I would point out one slight modification to that, and that is that those funds that were eliminated to try to make a balanced budget were restored to the departments, and the restrictions on their use were not, in many cases, they restored the positions that were cut. But as you can appreciate, we live in very dynamic times and departments change. And if the department heads could use those funds for better purposes, they had the flexibility to do that. And in some cases, the positions that were restored were slightly different.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Counselor Smith. Thank you, City Manager. Did anyone else, did we get a response back for Counselor Bartholomew's question?
Yes, let me answer that for you. And I know that Fire Chief Wooten is trying to join us right now, but basically, while Counselor Bartholomew's observation is correct that EMTs are less expensive than firefighters, if you have dual role firefighters and EMS persons, you have much more flexibility in staffing and responding. So in many ways, that ends up saving us money, even notwithstanding the fact that she is correct that EMTs are in isolation, they are less expensive than a firefighter.
That's what you needed, Counselor Bartholomew?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that because it also makes our EMT services more secure because they are linked with our firefighters and having a dual training. So I just wanted to make sure that that was part of the process. So thank you.
Counselor Johnson was next. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, I appreciate that explanation just had. I want to tell you, it does, from previous personal experience, having the firefighters, EMTs cross-trained is very good because you don't know exactly what you're going to need when you're going to need it. And I mean, we had 4 of them come over our house a week ago Thursday, and let me tell you what, they all performed everything superbly. My other thing was with the library increase. Now, I did check with Human Resources Director Danette, can't remember her last name. Anyway, I asked her about if we're funding 3 part-time positions, if they were already, had a position, and if not, it means it's 0.5 and 0.6 if they were offered benefits. And she assured me that they do. It's on a kind of a sliding scale basis to where they pay for more of their insurance than a full-timer would. And so I just wanted to make sure with her that we aren't going into a part-time institution where you hire part-time to get by and it ends up not working. So she assured me that everything is a-okay.
Thank you very much, Counselor. Counselor Novak is next.
Thank you. In my review of the information, it looks like there's an awful lot of money being put toward new administrative costs. 81,100 more for Parks and Rec. And also, let's see, what did I note the other day? I had a question about $100,000 for performance and cultural art. I would like to know what that is. And then there was talk about when we discussed the supplemental budget, taking another look at the cap on TLT. So I'd like to, were we going to discuss that further at this time?
I hadn't planned on going through that. This is for Wednesday night as well. So this is just, this is our first glance at it.
Yes.
And those questions answered back to us. So we got it on the table now. So Director Ledane, would you like to speak to the first part of that?
Sure. So in regards to the Cultural and Performance Arts series, due to budget issues, we had to contract our River Rhythm series down from 5 to 4. And one of the things that we said that if the city services fee were to come through, we would be able to restore a concert each year. And so that's what those additional monies go towards is bringing that series back to 5 as opposed to keeping it just to a month. And then I believe I'm speaking correctly. So Director Yeager, let me know if I'm not, but I believe the $80,000 that's in there is just like we were talking about with the library having to pay a portion back. That's just our payment to Public Works so that they administer the fee and that it's to take care of their administrative side so that we can get the rest of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 74,900 of that is for that Public Works customer service charge. There's $6,200 in there for minor equipment also.
So is there a way to find out what the total administrative cost of the city services fee is?
Yes, I included it in the memo. It says each program will be assessed its portion of the $356,600 Public Works customer service charge. That's
Okay.
the administrative cost for the
That's what
bikes.
that is. Thank you. I wrote that number down and so the cost of this, of processing the city services fee is $356,600 every year.
Every biennium.
Every
So for the 2
biennium.
years.
Okay, so for 2 years. So
Mhm.
I'm going to divide that by 24, unless Director Yeager, you're faster with calculations than I am, I'm sure. Could you tell me what that comes down to on a per month basis?
Let me take a quick look for you.
Thank you kindly.
It would be approximately $14,850 a month.
It's a lot of money to process bills.
Well, that's 54,000 accounts they have to process. That's a lot of work.
Mhm.
So I definitely understand where you're coming from. So any other counselors have anything else? Counselor Novak, anything else?
Well, I'm still hearing from a lot of constituents that aren't happy with the city services fee. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but for the record, I'm still hearing from a lot of folks.
I'm sure all of us are getting emails and voicemails and text messages from constituents as well. I've received some very good messages. I've also received some people who are not so happy. We've been able to talk through them, and that's part of the process of being in leadership. So next thing on the agenda, Director Yeager, do you have anything else for us? No one of the councilors has any more questions?
Not tonight. If I'd welcome any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you'll be bringing this back on Wednesday for us to take for another look at and vote on.
Yes, we'll have it on Wednesday. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next thing is business from the council. So on my screen, Councilor Novak is first. Do you have anything?
Okay.
Do you have anything? From
I
council?
do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I hope this is appropriate. If it's not, you stop me, okay? Mr. Mayor. So I have a situation where Bryant Seaton stepped down from the Public Safety Commission, and he was appointed in Ward 3, but he lives in Ward 1. And because I have a space to fill in Ward 1, I'm wondering if we could just slide Mr. Anderson over into the Bryant Seaton slot. Is that okay?
So is Mr. Anderson in Ward 1 or Ward 3?
He is actually living in Ward 1, and he would like to represent the ward where he's living, or to, he'd like to serve as a resident of Ward 1, which is where he lives. He was appointed from Ward 3.
I believe he would have to, if he already has an application on file and you've conducted the interview, I believe the city.
He's currently serving, but he was appointed by Ward 3. Forgive me, I'm just trying to explain it. Yeah.
I'll have to trust either Mary or Allison to let us know how the process would work. And I'm sorry, Mary.
Good afternoon. Councilor Novak, I'm just now learning about the CAG process with my new position, so I will have to get back to you on that. I can't answer for you off the top of my head. In about a month, I could tell you, but right now I can't quite yet. I will get back to you by email.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
So we'll get a resolution for you, Councilor Novak.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you. Councilor Kopsinski, you're next up.
Nothing on the agenda for me tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Johnson.
I just want to say that I lost internet connection for about 5 minutes there during Director Inouye's presentation. So I don't know where I went, but I wasn't with you guys. So I'm sure it was very informative, and I get the gist because we've been here. I did have a question about that.
Please do.
Peter, I just want to know, nothing has changed as far as the city is doing what it can, when it can. And so nothing of that has changed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, because I know we can't do everything at one time. It would cost too much money. But as we continue doing construction and everything, we do things at that time, and we are showing that we are making progress.
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
That's all I have.
I'm going to backtrack. I do have a question for the city manager.
Okay, thank you.
Let me come back to you because I'm gonna get through everyone. I'll come back to you. Okay, Counselor Kopsinski. Counselor Smith,
Nothing.
thank you. Counselor Bartholomew,
Not today. Thank you.
Counselor Olson.
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Counselor Kopsinski, you're up.
Peter, tonight we're seeing the closed captioning and the ALS. Is there a cost incurred, and what is that being budgeted? What department is that being budgeted from, or how is that being handled?
ASL, not ALS, notwithstanding the fact that Mary's typo there.
Yes, that's not the wrong terminology or acronym for sure. Thank
Right.
you.
So our interpreters have not been budgeted for the evening, but they are coming out of the city manager's office, and we'll make adjustments to pay for that. But yes, it is something that we do have to pay extra for.
And the same thing for the closed captioning.
I would invite Matt Harrington. Part of the technology we have provides some assistance. So Matt, can you comment on that?
I'm having trouble getting my video working, but you'll just have to listen to the dulcet tones. So as far as the closed captioning that you see at the bottom of your screen, that comes at no additional cost to our Zoom account. It was just something that we needed to turn on. Now, I will say
the Otter AI.
It is not the Otter AI. This is just the built-in automatic speech recognition captioning. So as opposed to some of your TV broadcasts that will have closed captioning service, those can be, they're not always, but they can be human translated. One of the things that we discovered in this process, getting ready for this meeting and this request, was that the state offers what's called CART service, which is real-time translation by a human typing in those captions. That would come with an additional cost. It is much more accurate than what you're seeing below. But as you can also see below, if you speak slowly and clearly, it does a pretty good job of transcribing what I'm saying. So this is at no additional cost. We have in the past also used the built-in translation of YouTube and Facebook as an optional thing for people to turn on, but that's reliant on them turning it on. This is essentially forced on the user, which isn't a bad thing in my opinion. So there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I see you, Counselor Olson. Counselor Olson, you're next up.
I don't see any captions. I'm wondering, is there some way to turn those on?
At the bottom of your screen, Counselor Olson, there's a little closed captioning CC live transcript button. You can push that.
Yeah, I tried that. And what, show subtitle?
You should see them pop up once you start listening, once it starts working.
You should choose view full transcript. It's the middle option of the menu there.
Well,
got it?
That blanks out half the page.
Well, how big, what are you using, an iPad?
I'm using my computer.
It will vary depending on what device you're watching on.
Well, how can I get out of this?
Just deselect it.
Well, that's not working either.
If you select hide subtitle.
Yeah, I'm out.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, Peter. So that, Counselor Novak has something.
I just want to mention that it shows up really nicely on an iPad, the closed captioning, really perfectly.
Thank you. Thanks for that. So the only thing I have a couple things. I don't know if all of you seen the post, but the carousel, a historic carousel had a carnival this weekend and it was well attended. People were very respectful of each other's space and also masking up. The children loved it. We had visitors from as far away as Idaho. People came down from Portland. There was a cakewalk. There was just a lot of energy downtown, but it was good to see the livelihood and the people out there listening to music and being safe and enjoying the carousel. So great job to the carousel volunteer team and the executive director and her staff at the carousel, Peggy Burris. COVID vaccinations, I've been looking at received notices from the Oregon Health Authority. To date, there's been 4,701 new cases of COVID, an additional 20 to 30 deaths. I would caution people to be mindful of other people's space and also mask up, be respectful of their space, and also to social distance when you can, and be mindful of people's feelings about their safety and those and their loved ones. ADA compliance, I really like the fact that we have interpreters today. I learned ASL when I was in high school, but I was an idiot and didn't keep practicing. So it was really good to see that we have interpreters today speaking with our non-hearing members of our community. And other than that, we are now going to recess to executive session to discuss.
Does the city manager have any comments?
I was going to save them afterwards. Go ahead, city manager. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you let me do it now because I wanted to thank Susie and Damon for interpreting this evening. And I sent you some sobering information this afternoon about hospitalization and statistics for beds that are available. And having been dealing with my mom recently in her infirm state, I have to ask people, you know, the vast majority of people who are hospitalized are unvaccinated. So if there's ever been any proof that a vaccination is a good thing to get, I think you're staring it in the face. So I would just urge folks to communicate that. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, before we go into executive session.
Thank you very much. So we're currently going to recess to executive session, discuss current litigation or litigation likely to be filed in accordance with ORSS 192.660. Subparagraph 2, subparagraph H. Now we're going to see, at this time it is, what time is it now? At 16:49, the city council will now meet in an executive session for the purpose of discussing litigation per the ORS previously mentioned. Representatives of the news media and designated staff and other persons shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other participants will be moved into a waiting room, or you can leave and rejoin in the meeting in a few minutes. Your screen will now display the message. Please wait until the meeting post will let you back in and let you in soon. When the council returns to open session, participants remaining in the waiting room will be admitted to the meeting. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session and previously announced. As previously announced, no decision will be made in this executive session. I now recess executive session. And time is 16:50. People still popping in. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll now reconvene the regular session at this time. It's 17 or 5:24 PM at August 23rd. So, city attorney,
Yeah, and Mayor, at this point, what I would ask is that we have a motion made in a second to allow our city manager to enter into a settlement or to sign a settlement agreement that will be prepared by our attorneys to settle the cannibal system disputes with CH2M Hill. There's a resolution that you will be signing to that effect. But if we could get a motion on that, and then the motion again would be something as simple as authorizing the city manager to execute a settlement agreement with CH2M Hill. That's it.
council,
I would move to,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I'll say I would move to authorize the city manager to, now I forgot what Sean said, to authorize the settlement agreement with, about the cannibal system with CH2M Hill.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
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 Is that everyone vote?
I did, I
Those
was
opposed?
muted. I said
Those opposed?
aye along.
That's 6-0. So those
Yes.
opposed, there'll be none opposed. Motion passes 6-0.
Right, good.
So we're gonna bring that back on Wednesday night, Sean?
There'll be a resolution for you to sign no later than Wednesday night. Actually, it'll be available for you to sign tonight.
Okay, I'll swing by.
Very good.
All right, thank you. We'll go and adjourn the meeting now at 5:26 PM on August 23rd. Thank you all for attending the meeting. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Yep.
Have a safe Tuesday and enjoy the weather. Thank you much.
Thank you.